grab a bottle or snap a tab. It's time for Antebrewum, South Georgia Beer Report. South Georgia's first craft beer podcast with Ryan and Danny. This month, Ryan and Danny talk about SB 85 and pound through a 5 points fine wine and spirits 4-pack 4-minute review. And then things get a little silly as they talk about other stuff. Because to be honest with you, we did this episode a few weeks ago, and I don't really remember what we talked about. But you'll find out soon. Cheers. Welcome to episode 8 of Antebrewum, South Georgia Beer Report. I'm Danny.
And I'm Ryan, and you have hit the right podcast button for all of South Georgia beer-related news and propaganda and laughs and whatever else you want. So, Danny, my first question, as always, is, what you drinking?
Beer.
And that's the kind of high-quality podcasting you've come to know and love from Antebrewum. All right,
So,
let me ask again.
I have a Utah brewery that I have no idea how to pronounce.
Uinta.
Uinta? Uinta?
You into it?
Are you into beer?
Okay.
But I have a rate beer friend, Sled Utah, that lives in Utah. I suppose I should ask him sometime. I think I did ask him once, and I just forgot what the answer is.
So the beer is a beer from Utah, and you have a friend in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Care to elaborate the name of the beer?
Uinta Lime Pilsner. It is just a random tick that I got at Craft on Draft today, one of our favorite Valdosta spots.
Absolutely.
And tick meaning I've never had it before. And it is good. It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's
fresh.
Very much lime.
Craft on Draft had 3 different watermelon beers.
Did you stop by there?
Yeah, the other day.
They still have them.
Yeah. So
Maybe 4. I had one today.
It's a lot of fruit, a lot of fruitiness going out since it is spring going into summer. And I am drinking.
Sorry. Ryan, what are you drinking?
What you drinking? I'm drinking Green Flash C2C Lager, which is it's a good crisp lager. I think it tastes a little salty, but Danny thinks it's in my head.
It's in his head.
Maybe.
It's in his head.
It's a Zwickel lager. What's that mean?
I don't know.
It's some sort of German thing. I've had them before.
I think that essentially means unfiltered. It even says, Zwickel, unfiltered and crisp.
Yeah, it tastes unfiltered. It's pretty good.
I actually remember in 2010, I took a trip to Orlando for a rate beer event, and it was the first time I ever ticked a Zwickel lager. That was a style tick for me on rate beer. I have no idea. But I remember telling the shopkeep, this tastes like beer.
Yep.
And he said, yes, it does.
It's just normal beer that's unfiltered.
When I was at Craft on Draft today, there were a couple of sorority girls who were very impressed by how many of the beers they tried did not taste like beer. Because they had a couple sours and like a coconut beer.
Yeah, that's how
this doesn't taste like beer because they're used to,
Well, in my days in the sorority, I would be looking for anything that didn't taste like beer. So, with that said, Green Flash, what's the name of that IPA they do? Palate
Wrecker.
Palate Wrecker. I remember first time I had that, I thought it was a big deal. That was many, many years ago. I mean, it was a big deal for a while.
Palate Wrecker and their, I used to love their Orval cologne. I'm blanking on the name of that too, but it's really good. Their Brett beer.
What is that? Oh, well. Anyways,
Moving
we
right
need to
along.
thank our
This is a
sponsors.
South Georgia podcast.
Yeah, and
But,
we have not
hey,
talked about South Georgia.
We're drinking a lot of Georgia beers later, hence
Yes,
why
we are.
we're getting these random ticks in now. So thanks for dealing with our
Rambling.
habits.
Our ticking.
Our ticking away. I'm sitting weird because now I'm worried about the mics. Yes, thank you to 5 Points Fine Wine and Spirits. We've been out of town for a couple weeks. So this week we've brought back the 5 Points 4-pack 4-minute Firestorm review.
Firestorm.
And they're all Georgia beers.
That's right.
They're all Georgia spring and summer beers.
Have you been in 5 Points lately? They are rocking.
Actually,
some
no. They
selection.
teleported the beers to me.
I guess you did say you were in 5. Hey, you could do the drive-thru.
No, I was in there, and they have locals. You need to get in there because seasons are changing, which means they have a ton of new beers right now.
Yeah, they have their selection was stacked. Last time I went in, a bunch of new different sorts of stuff. I'm trying to remember what I got the last time. I think I just got some Trappist beers because my wife wanted some monk-made beer. You know, they have all the Rocheforts and I think they had Arval and
probably Chimay.
Yeah, so
and they have a couple. If you're listening to this right now, near this date, go in and get the Cigar City Penultimate Push. That's a pretty cool hit there. And the Jekyll Brewing Company Southern Juice, their Northeastern style IPA, is pretty darn good.
We're going to get to try that later, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So go get it now because those are fresh.
And we've got a few other ones we're going to try and be able to tell you about. But if you have not made it to 5 Points recently, you need to go there. They're getting new stuff in, and it's flying off the shelf. So get it while you can. And who's our other sponsor?
Thanks as always to Daniel Opal from Mobile Designs. I am wearing the awesome new Antebrewum t-shirts. Also, thank you to everybody that bought t-shirts.
Yeah, that was awesome. And the shirts, I think they look awesome.
Looks really good on camera. They came out.
We had
and black is so slimming.
some serious discussions about what the slogan on the back would say, but we settled on one which we're pretty proud of. My friend Joe kind of helped come up with. If you can,
this is awkward.
Stop it. It says the Champagne of Beer podcast. So, we're keeping it classy in this joint. So, what are we talking about today? We don't have a guest. What happened to our guest?
Well, unfortunately, we couldn't work it out with the Georgia Brewers Guild to get somebody online today, but we were going to have a guest from the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild to talk about the passing of SB 85.
SB 85. SB 85. Friday. Well, one is actually
actually, that's
September.
Probably part of the problem because when you tell someone, hey, 2 random dudes are having a podcast at 6 p.m. on a Friday, how would you like to be on our show? They're like, oh, we have friends and family, so...
Yeah. Just not as dedicated to the guild as you need to be. No, I'm just joking.
Do they really even care about South Georgia craft beer?
We get the we had the discussion of, I don't remember if that was on air or not, where we talked about Trog, the rest of Georgia.
Trog?
Remember at the Macon?
Trog door.
Trog, the rest of Georgia, how Atlanta kind of takes all the glory and the stuff, and they leave the rest of Georgia out. So we're all troglodytes, but. I think probably it was more like she or whoever needed to spend time with their family, and that's understandable. But
for the record, we're totally joking.
Yeah, and we got all the information we need. So let's talk about this state bill. Is it state bill or Senate bill? State Bill 85.
I don't know what it stands for, so I'll just go with SB 85. And as you know, if you're a real South Georgia or just Georgia beer enthusiast at the moment, if you want to, you cannot go to a distribution brewery and just purchase beer on site to consume there on premises,
because you get arrested,
or to take home. You have to do the little loophole, which is basically they do either a educational tour, I believe is the official term. For instance,
on our truly educational tours, I'd be super smart.
On our Macon trip, we went to Macon Beer Company, our favorite pun brewery in Georgia, and we paid like $12 each to take a tour with the owner, which was very cool.
It was awesome.
And we got a free pint glass, and then we got free samples, so we weren't buying beer. And then you can purchase beer on site to consume at brew pubs, but the brew pubs have to sell, I believe, 50% or more of their revenue from food. And certain ones are popping up now, but basically historically they were not allowed to sell beer to go, so which meant no growlers, no canning, no 6-packs.
So basically Georgia's behind pretty much the rest of the country with this archaic loophole is the only way you can get beer from the breweries.
I heard a rep say some pretty terrible statistic. The Georgia was like 48th state in terms of the country, it was ranked 48th in the amount of breweries per capita. In other words, we have a large population, but not very many breweries. And I think
it's hard to make a living.
These laws are pretty inhibitive of people doing this. So SB 85 has passed. They're waiting, I think, maybe still for the governor to sign, but there's a little loophole. I remember reading something like if he doesn't sign it in 40 days, then it just goes into law anyway. And they don't expect there to be big changes, except originally they wanted it to go in effect July 1st, but the Department of Regulations realized this was going to change taxes a lot, and so they bumped that to September 1st to give them enough time to fix the tax collection issues. But that's boring stuff. What does it mean for us? The exciting thing is that basically when you visit a brewery in Georgia now, whether that be a brew pub or a distribution brewery, because I know some of you listening are saying, but I've been to Moon River. I could buy beer and drink there while I had lunch because it was a restaurant.
Brew pub.
We're talking about when you go to Orpheus, when you go to Burnt Hickory, when you go to Omaha, the places that are not restaurants, and you have to do these tours, Macon Beer Company. Now, starting September 1st, if they choose to, which I can't imagine they won't, you will be able to actually
just go
drink
in and
beer at a brewery.
Buy the glass. And you'll be able to take some beer home, right?
And you can purchase beer to take home with you via growler, bottle, can, whatever they prefer. Now, Ryan, you're not originally from Georgia, or you've at least lived in other places besides Georgia, right?
That's true.
I'm from Illinois, and I've lived in Florida. Mm-hmm. Imagine how crazy, being from Colorado, Illinois, and Florida, that we live in a state where you cannot go to a brewery and buy beer.
It's unspeakable.
Hilarious almost. Those of you that maybe are from Georgia, hopefully you've at least traveled and realized just how ridiculous it is that you can't visit a place that makes beer and buy beer. Imagine if there is a bakery in your town that makes bread, but you weren't allowed to go there and buy any bread.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was unfairly tipped by distributors, and distributors need to, they're important, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, and from what I read, I understand they had a big part in coming to the table to work on this, because I do want the Orpheus and the Scofflawn to make it down here.
Yeah. And
so we need those distributors, and we need balance, and we want everybody to be successful. It's America. Everybody gets a piece. We all enjoy our beer. But it'd sure be hard if you are a brewer or a brewery and you're trying to make it, but you can't get that immediate money of just putting your product out without having to ship it, without having to do much other than just pour up the good stuff. So this is giant news for Georgia beer.
I think the breweries have finally convinced, and one interview and some stuff I read, the Beer Wholesaler Association, or whatever it happens to be called in Georgia, eventually got on board with this.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything directly related to this, but I'm assuming, breweries kind of said, we're still going to distribute.
Yeah.
We're still going to sell. We have a brewery in Atlanta. We're still going to ship kegs to Atlanta. We're still going to put our cans in the local grocery stores. But, boy, it would be nice for us if, when a fan visits the brewery, if they would be able to have a pint.
Yes.
And if they would be able to, say, buy a rare bomber.
Yep.
That we don't always get to release. Or if they want a six-pack right here, they can grab it. Because guess what? They're not going to go to the brewery every day. And on those other days, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to the grocery store. They're going to go to the liquor store. And they're still going to buy the cans and the bombers and the six-packs.
And so are we, because we don't live in Atlanta. But
exactly.
Where I think it's really going to help is down here in South Georgia, small towns all around the state, breweries really are going to need that revenue from people coming in, hanging out, as that's their brew spot. We're talking about our Georgia beer companies, our big oaks that are hopefully coming down the road. They're gonna need those tasting rooms and we want them, and that's really going to help them. Sure, they're going to need to distribute too, probably a little bit, if they're doing a big production style like that. But this is really going to help open the door, because you're more into the business. It is expensive and dangerous to open up a brewery. You need to make as much money early on as possible, or you're not going to succeed.
Absolutely. One of the things I heard the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild talking about was, and this is one of the things we wanted to talk about, was how this impacts our smaller communities, because we live and love beer in South Georgia, and obviously there's a lot of, not a lot, we'll say, but a good handful of breweries in Atlanta and none down here at the moment, at least in the Valdosta area, Valdosta, Thomasville, Brunswick, everything pretty much in South Georgia. There's none right now. And what this is really going to do for us in small towns is really help the little guy, because in the past, you had to invest millions of dollars, or at the very least, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into starting a large brewery so that you could distribute.
Right.
Or you had to invest. I heard somebody talking about the Macon area, for instance. If you wanted to open a restaurant in Macon, it was going to cost you $2 million. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to do a brewery on top of that, that's even more. Yeah. So what this is going to do is really open the door for the little guy, because now with local approval and state licenses and everything all in order, you can open a restaurant or you can open a brewery and get a good part of your revenue from on-site and to-go sales at your brewery. And then the long-term goal, even if you start small, will be to grow your brewery into a point where you are using distributors. Because Georgia Beer Company could very well start here with a tap room and distributing in town, and then start brewing enough where it goes to Columbus, where it goes to Atlanta. I'm excited for when I'm in the airport and I can get a Valdosta beer on tap. Beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy. And it's just, even saying all this out loud is just blowing my mind.
It is.
Of how spoiled I was in Florida and Illinois.
And I think
not that they don't have their own problems, but
Florida and but real beer forward states like Colorado, where I'm from, they understand the tax money, tourism that beer brings in. And I think Georgia's probably getting it. We have some world-class, highly sought-after breweries now, several. And we've got the next tier down, tons of fantastic, great little breweries who are coming up and who could be that next big one. But people are going to want to come to Georgia, but it's kind of a drag to have to go and do the tour, and how that slows things down and how you can't bring stuff home. I mean, it's just not what we need.
Well, it's crazy to think that the state of Georgia has finally transcended regional popularity in essentially, of course, the two big breweries. I'm not talking about craft beer nerd necessarily breweries, but the two big Georgia breweries you can think of off the top of your head.
Sweetwater and Terrapin.
Sweetwater and Terrapin, of course. I had a friend recently send me a picture from like Dallas or Denton, Texas, because he visits me a lot, but he lives in Texas, and there was Sweetwater. That's awesome. Good for them. Good. But how crazy is it that there's a brewery that's big enough and well enough known and successful enough to be distributing all the way in Texas, and you can't go there and drink a pint of beer?
Yeah.
So,
unless they're big enough where they can open a bar, but the past is gone.
We're beating a dead horse.
September is here, and talk about the limits. Basically, you just talked to a brewer friend. They said, as far as the limits, unless they're a giant brewery, it's not going to impede them.
And really, the only limits of SB 85 are in regards to the on-site consumption and on-site sales to go. So grand total, breweries in the state of Georgia will be allowed to sell 3,000 barrels per year for on-site consumption and to go from their tap room. So that does not include the beer that they put into distribution. And some of you are thinking 3,000 is not a very large number. Well, 3,000 barrels is the equivalent of 6,000 full kegs, which still may not seem like that big of a number to you, but I promise it is.
That's a lot of beer.
I reached out to, I won't name any names because I don't know if they want me to use their name, but I reached out to a very popular mid-sized Florida brewery. So, not Cigar City or something like that, but a well-known, very popular, sells out all their beers brewery in Florida. And in a bad month, they might sell 1,000 gallons. And so we did the math, and they're selling something like between 5 to 1,000 barrels of beer for on-site and to-go consumption per year, max.
And this is a good brewery. It's not somebody's garage.
No, I'm talking like a brewery that opened its doors from day one with, full distribution in mind.
That point is the limits that the state put on it are high enough where it's, if you're getting to the point where you're almost there, you're probably looking to take it to another level or to expand out or something like that. What about the average Joe? How much can I come in and take home in a day?
So the good news is, as long as they stay within their 3,000 barrels per year, you have unlimited on-site consumption as a user, as a drinker.
Yeah, let's not use using.
Freudian slip. I think I was thinking like software or something.
Yeah.
So as long as they stay within their 3,000 barrels a year, unlimited on-site consumption per person per day. Don't take that as an invitation, you drunks. And they can do 288 ounces per person per day for to-go sales, which works out to one case of 12-ounce beer. So 24 12-ounce beers. So you can walk in and buy a case. You can walk in and buy a case of 12 ounces,
and the other thing is
some bombers or growlers or whatever.
And brew pubs can retail now, so brew pubs can go ahead and bottle and sell, correct?
So, yeah, they were essentially, the way they worded it is that
growlers.
they're cleaning up the language, the vague language in the brew pub rules, which some have decided you can sell, some have decided you can't. And it's basically allowing them to have retail sales now.
Gotcha.
So you can go to a brew pub. Again, I know this is a shocker, but you can go to a place that makes beer and buy it and take it home.
Take it home.
Shocker. And I love my note. I wrote, no more tour BS.
Yeah. If you belong, if you've got a neighborhood brewery, you don't have to have 10,000 of their pint glasses anymore, which you don't need. I mean, we love glassware. We're sitting here with a bunch of glassware in front of us, but at some point you don't need another pint glass, especially if you've got 3 of the same pint glass. So it just makes it more cost efficient for everybody and better for everybody. So go Georgia. We're happy. It's a big deal. That's why we're spending half our podcast talking about it. But and it's a real big deal for South Georgia towns, small towns, because it's going to be a lot easier and a lot more cost efficient to open up a smaller brewery.
We wrote about, or we wanted to talk about how does it impact small communities and the state of Georgia in general. And I think one of the things that's going to happen is hopefully we have an explosion of breweries, and hopefully in a good way, because many people talk about
brewery just opened up right over there.
Oh gosh, I wish.
There's one open right over there.
The lot next door to my house is for sale. If anybody would like to open a brewery,
there you go.
I'll help you petition the historic district to build a new building. But people talk about the craft beer bubble and blah, blah, blah. So hopefully it creates an explosion of good breweries and not
there is no bubble down here.
No. There's plenty of beer. Plenty of beer.
So let's shift gears here a little bit. And, our last podcast we talked with Brian from Piedmont Brew Pub, which is awesome place. We talked about that. Want to talk about a few other places in Macon that we stopped in after just to
kind of recap our...
Yeah. So after we Piedmont, as Danny said, we went to our favorite pun-based beer name brewery, Macon Beer, which I got... Speaking of pint glasses from tours,
hey!
I'm drinking Danny's with water.
And that was Jeremy, right?
Uh-huh.
And Jeremy was super cool, very nice to us.
Nice guy. He gave us the Royal Tour, and he's a guy that's making good, and I'm sure this is going to help. This law will particularly help him quite a bit, even though he distributes a little bit. It definitely helped too.
But they had a nice tap room set up for these tours.
Awesome
so
tap room.
Once they can actually sell beer there, it's going to be even better.
Yep. And so, and then we went to a couple restaurants.
As we hoped, every beer while we were there was a beer pun. We had Macon history. We had Macon movies. You finally got to try your all-time favorite.
My favorite.
Making love.
Making love.
Feel like making love. Side note, I'm going to be in Macon tomorrow, and I'm hoping to get back to some of these places and try some more Georgia beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Jeremy will have implemented some of our pun suggestions from last episode.
He seemed like a nice guy. He probably wouldn't tell us not how dumb they were at the time.
He didn't
but
seem too impressed.
Nah, he didn't.
When we
but
were
that's okay.
drunkenly rattling them off to him.
Making new ones as he was speaking. Making friends would be a good collaboration.
Making friends.
Making friends.
We talked about that on the podcast.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That would be probably the easiest one to implement.
You know what? Did we make this joke? He needs to have us collab on a beer, and we'll call it Making Podcasts.
He would never do that. Okay, let's talk about. We went to 2 downtown bar restaurant places, which were both packed because it was St. Patrick's Day, but both had fantastic beer list. The Rookery and Barefoot Tavern.
Yes,
they were within about a block of each other, maybe a half block, and it was happening downtown. Making both of them had great beer. You know, we are always looking for new Georgia beers, and we could get 2 at each place, so we were in good
at
shape.
Least, yeah. Well, and it was kind of funny because all the locals and the beer nerds that I ran to, everybody was totally enamored with the Rookery, and I totally see why. It's this cool, like, cross between sort of a fancy place, but also a dive bar.
Yeah.
Lots of locals, great beer selection, and apparently great food. We didn't get to eat at
We did
either
not get
place.
the food. Are you going to eat
unfortunately,
tomorrow?
I am. I'm going to eat tomorrow for lunch at Piedmont because they didn't have the kitchen open while we were there.
Get that smoked brisket stuff.
I think I'm going to get like the brisket Philly or the brisket banh
Hopefully they'll
mi.
have some new beers. He said they're hopefully
No,
gonna
I've
have
been watching their Facebook. They have new beers.
Yeah,
So, haha, I'll get Georgia Ticks that you don't.
that's fine.
And then we're going to go, I think, to dinner at Barefoot, which is what I'm getting at. Because in many ways, I think I liked Barefoot better. I think they had more and better
Beer-wise?
selection of beer.
I think the Rookery was a place I'd more like to hang out.
For sure.
Barefoot had just so much beer, and it was really focused on Georgia beer. And yeah, we had a great time both places.
Yeah.
But I think if you're like
I felt like
beer nerd,
I feel like the locals kind of almost gave Barefoot too much of a bad rap. Like, oh, it's a hoity-toity place.
Yeah.
And it was more like, you know,
was a little
button-up
fancier.
shirts tucked into
Yeah.
khaki shorts.
they let us in though. I was wearing well, you could see if you watched. I was wearing a green shirt with a leprechaun cat, and they
I
let
don't
us in.
remember what I was wearing.
I don't know, something green.
Oh, I was wearing the Big Oak shirt.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Oak shirt.
They let us in. So
Yeah, we got a seat, and we got totally lucky at both places. We got a seat at the bar because we walked up right as someone left.
yep.
The
And
beer gods were smiling upon us.
as well they should. And then
Both great places, by the way. But
And then we went
awesome
to
beer
another little
selections.
great place before we went back to the hotel, and that was Taco Bell. And
And you had the enticing.
I had the Starburst
slushy.
which I
Starburst
drank
slushy.
one sip of and said that's a bad idea. And then the next morning we stopped and had breakfast at H&H, which is a soul food, southern food cafe thing, which was fantastic food. Didn't have any
Amazing.
beer.
Amazing.
But after that we stopped at
Growler Spot.
Growler Spot and what was that guy's name? He was a super nice
Super
guy. We should remember his name. Anyways,
my hotel, by no small coincidence, is right by Growler Spot.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll be stopping on the way out of town again.
super
this
cool
weekend.
guy. We ended up, we were just going to stop in and see if they had anything. Of course, they had a ton of stuff, so we stayed for a few drinks and
We had like a little flight.
bought some bottles.
Brought some bottles home.
They had a Creature Comforts Gesture King collab that we were pumped about.
Yeah.
Monday Night Brewing stuff. And just Creature
Scotch
Comforts also.
barrel-aged.
Yeah, it's just a super weird Omaha beer. I mean, it was just a great beer spot. They had plenty of stuff to fill up on
Yeah, it
growlers
was like
and bottles.
Rum barrel aged English mild ale.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Super weird.
It was
But
good.
It was good.
Good. And so, yeah, Macon.
And, talking about, again, SB85 and the new places. Piedmont's great. They opened up at the Brew Pub thing because they're opening up before September 1st. But who knows? Maybe once this law passes, they'll go more for growler sales and stuff like that.
Brian knows his beer. He's a beer nerd for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
He can go toe to toe with us on beer, and it's reflected in the beer he makes. We just had their flagship type stuff. They're all solid, but I can tell what he's going to do with them and take it to another level. So,
Oh, yeah.
Macon was a great beer destination, about 2 hours down the road. Plenty of stuff to do, fun. So South Georgia, check it out. I know it's mid Georgia, but we're gonna claim it since it's not Atlanta.
And what's cool too is there's still a brewery coming in Valdosta, Georgia Beer Company. At least, there's rumors of potentially other investors and stuff in other breweries, but I'll believe it when I hear more about it. And then, but also we have Big Oak in Thomasville. We still have the Pretoria Fields in Albany.
Brunswick.
By the way, if you guys are listening, we'd still like to have you on the show.
Yeah, totally.
Answer our emails, damn it. And then
we just
Brunswick.
Doing great talking to our guests. Yeah, Brunswick, which is real close. Well, not real close, a couple hours.
To be fair, they can't even answer an email. They're probably not listening to the podcast.
That's true.
But if you are, we'd love to have you.
And if in the future we do hook up with you, just disregard this piece. Skip it over 15 seconds forward. Anyways, but Brunswick's going to have a brew pub.
No brewery name. They said in the article that they were keeping it a secret. I think brewery. They're planning to wait. It's so late now. They probably couldn't even if they tried. But they're going to open after September 1st, which is great. I mean, originally we talked about maybe talking about Brunswick. I've been there several times now for gigs for my real job, and kind of it's like similar to Valdosta.
Yeah.
Not really a beer destination yet, but a lot of potential. There's a couple of decent bars, and there's a really cool growler store that again does make a good effort on focusing on Georgia beers, and now a really cool brewery going to open.
Yeah.
So
South Georgia,
there.
We're coming. Speaking of events, I just want to say this before I forget. We saw something that the Soho in Thomasville is going to do a Scofflaw tap takeover.
Scofflaw.
I forget the day, but if you just Google it.
We posted it on Facebook.
Yeah, we posted it on our Facebook. But if you are a Scofflaw fan or IPA fan, get to this tap takeover. It will be worth your time. And now it's time for the 5 Points Fine Wine and Spirits 4-pack fire 4-minute beer review with Danny's Cooler.
Ryan was killing time because I couldn't get the cooler open.
So, Danny, what do we do in this segment? I'm going to get my clock ready.
We drink beer.
We drink beer and review it fast.
Oh, that's right. I got to get my timer up.
I got the timer.
Oh.
You want to do the timer? You do the timer.
I'll
open.
It's my
I'll open you
my
time.
only job.
Are they all cans today?
They're all cans. Dude, it's summer. We got all cans.
All right. And they are all Georgia cans, is this correct?
I went into 5 Points and I said to Tom, who is a super awesome guy, I might add, we were thinking about doing either seasonal spring and summer beers or our Georgia beers, and then we both kind of realized
there's enough.
Why not both?
Yep.
And so we got new beers from several Georgia breweries.
So we'll put them out
at least one South Georgia beer. And is Jekyll technically not in Atlanta? Is it Alpharetta?
Jekyll's Alpharetta, which is pretty much Atlanta.
Okay, never mind. I was going to say possibly 2 non-Atlanta beers.
No.
We have 1 Savannah beer and 3 Atlanta beers. That's okay.
But that's okay. It's still Georgia
beer.
beer.
We forgot to do like the big layout.
We need to. We'll do it one by one. I'll put them out when we pour it up. All right, so give me your sample glass.
All right, we starting? First up is Red Hair SPF 50/50, which is a Radler. Do they call it Radler or Shandy on theirs?
India Pale Radler.
Radler.
Ready? Start the timer.
Boom.
Boom. Go.
So they make a homemade grapefruit soda, which you can also buy locally. I know at least Craft on Draft has singles of the grapefruit soda, which is what they mix with beer to make the SPF 50/50. I'll show it to the camera. What you think?
It's great. It's your ideal summer thing, and we talked about how Radlers are getting popular. This hits the spot. It's definitely got the grapefruit. I think it's mixed with their Gangway Pale Ale, which is a good solid pale ale. Again, another good beer. Get it fresh, get it in the summer. But this is, as it's shown by the anthropomorphic rabbits on the can, hanging out on the beach in their shorts. It is a summer beach beer.
And grapefruit was a good choice for mixing with a hoppy beer because you get some citrus and bitterness from the hops, and it doesn't really cancel each other out. It plays well together at this point. It accentuates that citrus and bitterness.
Stop!
I didn't even finish the beer.
All right.
We'll go with...
Hurry!
This one next.
Start it up.
Next minute's up.
This one is Southern Sky, which is from Kennesaw. This is Son of Icarus.
This was good because this brewery just hit Valdosta. So if you haven't been paying attention, some of you may not have noticed yet that Southern Sky hit town. And Son of Icarus is their Berliner Weiss, which is a low alcohol sour wheat beer. Perfect for spring and summer.
Nice bit tart, some lemon.
I think the description is playing with my mind. It says notes of tangerine and lemon, and now all I can smell is that like tangerine-y orange.
Yeah, it is
peel.
definitely tangerine. So
Clean,
just a little bit
refreshing.
of funky, clean.
I like my Berliners a little more sour than this, but this would still crush on a hot summer day.
Yeah, and this one's a little bit more funky than sour. More citrus and oh, stop talking.
Let's save the hoppy one for last. Time for the South Georgia beer.
Desert Dawn. You talk about it, I'll pour it.
Southbound from Savannah. Timer's going.
Oh my gosh, look at this color.
Desert Dawn. I had this recently, I recall. This is a Belgian-style Saison ale.
Look at the color.
Brewed with elderberries.
Yes. I love elderberries. What are elderberries, Danny?
Berries that are elder.
They're blueberries that are aged for about 2 years.
Oh.
Yes, I would make that up.
Is it really?
Yes, they're aged blueberries. You didn't know that?
No. I thought it was just a thing.
Dude, I thought you were into beer. They're not aged blueberries.
You summoner. We haven't even talked about the beer.
It's kind of hijinks.
This is
Better hurry, you got 15
Belgian
seconds
Saison with elderberries. It says wild berry, dark fruit, and spice. They deliver.
left. It is spicy. Definitely dark fruit. Definitely some Belgian yeast.
We're going to have to take a pause for a second. We're not
It's
going to make
not
it
fun if we don't do that. Go.
Okay, you ready for some OJ?
OJ.
And not the show. That's a good show. Did you watch it?
What?
The OJ Simpson show?
What, the White Bronco?
No, it was like they redid the case as a TV show. It's a little weird watching
For
a
real?
show where you already know the ending, though. Yeah, it was like on FX.
Are you for real?
Yes, it was very good. They had another one called Feud.
They
made by
have
the
two
same
shows
people.
about OJ.
No. They had this company had this show about OJ, and then they made another show about
O.J.
a totally
Simpson?
different topic. Yes, not the juice. Well, yeah, the juice, but not OJ. We've wasted 35 seconds.
This beer is good.
This is Jekyll Southern Juice.
This is
We're gonna drink some of these later.
this is definitely Georgia style IPA right here. Big.
style.
Huh?
Northeastern style.
We're taking it. It's Georgia style.
Southern Juice.
I wouldn't say this is northeastern style. It's not. I guess it's a little cloudy, but it's definitely
Well,
that juicy,
They're going for.
just fruit. All right, let's finish talking about this one. 'cause
Okay,
it's good.
it's worth it. We were talking about this beer earlier.
Actually, all four of these beers are really good. This beer is really. This one kind of made my head turn. Not that Jekyll's done anything wrong. They're just, they're just kind of good solid brewery. But this is takes a step up for them, don't you think?
This is a head turner.
Yeah.
Southern Juice. And I like that the can's all crazy because that means you can drink it in the car and nobody's suspicious.
Yeah, it's Mountain Dew.
For the record,
No, we don't.
we do
that.
not
No,
condone
yeah,
drinking in
yeah,
the car.
Nope.
It'll sound like we edited that in, but I just actually just said it.
Yeah. This would be one of those parts where if we were worried about more people listening, we'd cut it out. But
Hey, I tell our sponsors that
I cover some-
hundreds of people listen.
hundred people do listen.
That's true. Thank you, hundreds of people.
Yeah, but this is
Don't drink any beers
we'll
in the car.
we'll cover that in the Fiesta responsibly section here in a few minutes.
But yeah, these, I think it's got to be what they were going for. They didn't quite maybe nail the thick, juicy, creamy northeastern style look.
Not the
but
look.
it's definitely that
The taste
juicy,
is definitely there.
dank, just and brewed with oats and wheat, Citra and Simcoe. Distinct, juicy hop haze, inspired by the Northeast, brewed in the South. Says it right on the can.
Yep, really love this beer. So definitely one worth picking up. The Southbound is an interesting beer. If you're kind of into the berries and the very different sorts of flavors, the spices, so good. Way to go. If you want a simple, easy drinking beer, hit the Southern Sky. And if you want something fruity that everybody's going to like at the beach or the pool, hit the 50/50 Radler. Thanks to 5 Points, really good beers this time that they gave us. And again, it goes to show Georgia beer has got it going on. We're happy that we can put this
and some of these,
in front of you.
Like I know, for instance, Craft on Draft has the Jekyll cans right now, but as singles, and some of this other stuff I'm not sure you can get. Like I don't think the Southbound Desert Dawn, I'm not sure you can get it at Warehouse or anywhere else. I mean, go to 5 Points and get this stuff. Now is the time of year to drink these fruity, sour, hoppy beers. Go get them while they're fresh, especially this Southern Juice. It would be a complete shame if this sits on the shelf. Go drink it because it is good.
It won't.
I'll buy it if nothing else.
Yeah, it won't. It's good stuff. So,
speaking of local updates, Craft on Draft has a cooler now.
Yeah, that's cool.
So they have lots of cans, singles.
Yep.
But
hey,
go to 5 Points. We love this stuff.
5 Points is the place to go for sure. They're the leading edge. But yeah, there's lots of good beer all around town. You kind of find it. So we were going to talk a little bit about North Florida beers, because just because we've got a special one to crack, and because Danny made a trip down. So this could be a whole show, or each city could be a whole show. But if you're thinking about, as summer's coming up, as you're ready for a spring break, well, spring break's gone, but early summer, let's do that. Think about, a lot of North Florida is closer than South Georgia, and there's some fantastic breweries going on. The one Danny's going to pour is the one he went to.
Where is the closest brewery to Valdosta?
Is it Gainesville or is it Tally?
Tallahassee. For sure. Hour and a half.
How many are there? Proof?
There's a bunch now.
Really?
Yeah. So Proof, Fermentation Lounge, which used to be called Golden Horn Brewing, is going to be kicking back up, I believe.
Okay.
Momo is unfortunately closed, but now there's a Lake Tribe, Deep Brewing Company, Grasslands.
Grassland, I heard of.
So there's at least five or six.
Grassland is the one with the pickle beer, right?
Yes.
So,
Proof is by far the best.
The next closest city is Gainesville. And Gainesville, of course, has Swamp Head. It has.
How far is Gainesville from here? I don't even know.
2 hours. Not
2
even
hours.
Hour and a half.
So Gainesville and
they're close.
Gainesville and Jax and Tallahassee are all pretty close.
Yeah, I think Gainesville and Tallahassee are a little bit closer.
Gainesville's big one is Swamp Head.
And there's the
there's
Fifth Magnitude.
First Magnitude. And then there's a little brewery inside of Tall Paul's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't think of what the brewery is called, but they had a lot of. It's a really small, like basically nano brewery, and they had a lot of really goofy stuff while I was there. They have like an award-winning smoked porter. It's like some random brewery inside of a dive bar with board games, but they like won a medal at GABF or something, which is super crazy. Cool.
And then Jacksonville,
a million at this point.
And probably, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that one of maybe our favorite brewery around here is Aardwolf. I even wore the shirt. Ooh. And Danny went down and was able to score some stuff. But this is a
early bird
special mug.
If you're going to, if you're interested, Aardwolf has a special release this weekend. Actually, most of you will probably listen. I probably won't post this podcast till Monday, so it just happened. But if you happen to be watching live or you catch the YouTube video or something, they have a special release this weekend for the 2
treatments,
new early bird special releases.
Aged.
It helps to be friends with the owners. I got the mug, which doesn't show up well on camera, but it's a really cool clear glass mug with the early bird special logo. And we may or may not have gotten a couple of the beers already.
Well, we're going to try this one, which is you can go in there right now and
this one is on the shelf, probably right now, even as you're listening next week. They'll probably sell a ton of it this weekend, though. Is the Aardwolf Cherry Lovely Dark Sour Ale aged in oak barrels with cherries added. So they had Sarah Lovely, which was a raspberry sour, dark sour. They did cherries instead of raspberries and called it cherry.
Fantastic. Pour me up some. So, what are some of your other favorite breweries in Jacksonville?
There's a ton. There's a lot of breweries in Jacksonville. By the way, you know why the original beer was called Sarah Lovely?
It's the brewer's wife's name, right?
Yeah, the brewer's wife's name.
I would be.
So one of the
I'd be happy to have a beer of that quality named after me.
one of the bigger, more popular breweries in Jacksonville that's very good is Intuition Brewing Company. They distribute quite a bit these days. You can get their cans all over the place, and very good. I have not been to their new location yet, but I hear it's quite awesome. And then one of my favorites in town that you and I went to back in the day was Green Room Brewing Company, which I
Green Room was fun.
still love for their ingenuity. I went there recently and they had a malt liquor on tap, which was awesome.
Danny loves his malt liquors.
And they had like a coffee coconut something brown ale. I just love their ingenuity. Some other classics that are in Jacksonville, of course, Bold City is still there and they're about to open a new one. Engine 15, another good place. They already have a second new location that I hear is also very cool. And then there's a bunch of new breweries that have opened since I left. I didn't get a chance to go to any of them, but we have Veterans United, we have Wicked Barley. There's 2 meaderies now.
Yeah, I had a key lime. I think one's called Harris
Meadery, but they don't have a brick and mortar location.
Okay, well, I had there when I was at
Key Lime.
Goozle Pipes and Gutty Works.
Yeah.
Which is Kickbacks, which is a beer destination, to say the least, if you're anywhere near it.
Yes. I
actually
had
the key lime mead, which was sweet and delicious and fun beer.
I had it, not beer, mead. I had it in Destin recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And actually, I think I heard that the other meadery in town, the Mazer, might have closed.
Oh, really?
But I'm not sure. And then I'm still a part of the Facebook group for the Homebrew Club there and get updates all the time. And I think there's even more breweries coming in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
2 or 3 more about to open.
The point is, South Georgia.
There's a million.
We always push Georgia beers, but we love our North Florida brethren. And of course, you go a little farther. You go to Tampa. You got a little known brewery there, and a thousand other truly, well, maybe not 1,000, but many other small, delicious breweries there too.
You're getting far away there, though.
Yeah, but the point is, there's beer around. Hopefully, you won't have to go too far.
As much as I love Cigar City and Angry Chair and all the other breweries down there, I'm becoming a Georgia guy. If I'm going to drive 4 hours, I'm going to go to Atlanta and I'm going to go to Orpheus and Wrecking Barn, Burnt Hickory. I've still never been to Athens. People ask me all the time if I've ever been to Creature Comforts.
It would be hard to call that a South Georgia, but we could.
It's not South Georgia, but just because I'm from Georgia. But you know what? A lot of people ask me, "How have you never been to Creature Comforts?" And I said, "Well, you can't drink at breweries in Georgia." And they're like, "What?" Yeah. Thank you, SB85. SB85 may be the reason for us to finally go back to Atlanta.
There's also
we can convince Sour Carl.
The Atlanta has the Shelton Brothers Festival.
The festival, I think it's called. The festival.
Look up that beer list.
Look up the Shelton Brothers Festival.
It's something we'll have to think about as we get closer.
Big deal for that to be.
What do we got next? I think we better finish up. We're hitting go. We thought this one was gonna be a short one, but as usual, we like to talk.
We started late. By the way, this is very good.
This is delicious.
Like rich Flanders almost style, just malty, dark fruits, tobacco, leather, cherry, bourbon, brandy.
So I'm going to start a new segment, or at least when we don't have a guest, called the Craft Beer Dad Joke of the Month.
You know what I was thinking we should have done?
What?
Because I got this idea from a different podcast, is we should have Cast Me Another and each other.
Oh, we should have done that.
I listened to this podcast called Brass Chats. By the way, my hobby in life is to interrupt when Ryan's about to start a new segment.
He's good at that.
I listened to this podcast called Brass Chats, and they do Cast Me Another, basically, but with famous brass people, brass player. I'm a musician, by the way, brass musician, where it's like they'll have like the principal trumpet of the most famous orchestra in the world, and they'll say, "Okay, you have to give up either puppies or ice cream. Which one?" And they're always like, what? But much like us, that's become one of their most popular segments. And so what they did was they had a week where there's 3 guys that host the show, and all they did was go back and forth between the 3 of them, asking themselves those questions.
Kind of like one-upping each other.
So we could Cask Me Another back and forth to each other sometime. Where
next month if we don't have...
we create the questions for each other.
I think that would be fun.
And it was that episode where they did just a special episode where they just... I can't think of what that segment's called, but they had an episode where they
What is their thing? What is the Brass Tacks thing?
It's called Brass Chats.
Brass Chats.
Brass Chats.
What do they talk about?
They chat about brass.
Oh, tuba. Okay. I got you.
Not just tuba, but they're actually, I think, all trumpet players.
Yeah, we'll forgive them for that, I suppose.
Because, okay, it's something about Monster. They're, I'm scrolling through my phone now. Monster Round. So it's called Brass Chats, but it's sponsored by this company called Monster Oil, which is a type of valve oil. We're getting way too off topic. But
yes, we are.
The guys that run this podcast and interview these famous brass musicians also own and run this valve oil company. And so the quick fire Cask Me Another thing that we do, they call it Monster Round.
Nice.
And it's hysterical because kind of like us, they'll have a really serious conversation for 45 minutes with a really serious professional, and then they'll be like, what's your favorite heavy metal song? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know. Why are you asking me this? But then they monster rounded each other. This says Monster Round with the Monsters.
Nice.
So we have to Cask Me Another
with the
Caskers. What were you talking about?
All right, my new segment. This is called the Craft Beer Dad Joke of the Month. So my dad loves to tell bad jokes, which are colloquially known as dad jokes.
Dad jokes. Did you make one up or did you Google one?
Well, here's the deal.
We have to make it up?
I modify a joke my dad told me to include craft beer.
Oh.
So here we go. So let's see. This could... Okay.
By the way, Sour Carl is probably about to ring the doorbell, so everybody ignore that.
Yeah, that's cool. So this gorilla walks into a bar. And he goes up and he sits down at the bar. And the bartender freaks out. And he runs to the owner who's in the back of the bar. And he says, there's a gorilla here. And the owner goes, well, go see what it wants. And he goes and, can I help you? And the gorilla says, yeah, you got a beer list? And so the bartender freaks out. He says, the gorilla talked. He tells the owner, the gorilla talked. And so the owner says, well, what did it say? He said, they asked if we had a beer list. And so the owner says, well, go ahead and give him the beer list and see what he wants. So he goes and he gives us the gorilla the beer list. And the gorilla sits there for a second looking at it and says, okay, I think I'll take a Sweetwater 420. And so...
South Georgia beer.
And so the bartender freaks out again. He runs back to the owner and he says, he wants a Sweetwater 420. And the owner thinks about it and says, okay, well, go ahead and give him one. But, charge him 4 times as much, since he's a gorilla. And so bartender goes back and cracks the beer and gives it to him, pours it up for him, and sitting there drinking. And the bartender's still a little freaked out that this gorilla's just drinking in his bar. So he goes back to the owner and says, I don't know what to do. The gorilla's just sitting there drinking. So why don't you just go have a conversation with him? So the bartender goes back out and he's sitting there and he says, we don't get a lot of gorillas in here. And the gorilla says, for $20 a Sweetwater 420, I'm not surprised.
For those who are listening on iTunes, I just put my head in my hand and stared at the table because I had nothing to say to that joke.
So that's the craft beer dad joke of the month, which you only get here at Antebrewum, South Georgia Beer Report. Let's wrap this baby up. Let's thank our sponsor again, 5 Points Fine Wines and Spirits. Go hit up Tom. Go hit up Nancy. They got all your beers. They got the 4 beers we had today. Many, 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 many more. So thank you for them for they've really been our number one top bill sponsor, and they've believed in us and push us. So we really thank them. And if you go in there, say that you listen to Antebrewum, let them know that
Tom actually mentioned to me when I came in that he absolutely loves hearing from people that are from out of town or passing by on the interstate, and they heard about them on the radio, or they saw a billboard, or hopefully heard about them on a podcast. So go into 5 Points. Thanks again to Daniel Opal. If you're
making
watching
this
on
awesome shirt.
YouTube. I mean, he didn't make the shirt, but he made this.
He made the logo. He pretty much
super badass.
All we
logo.
did was take his logo and put it on a black shirt. So
yeah, which is
and thanks
awesome.
for everybody that bought a shirt.
And a reminder we may not have done in a while is Patreon.
Yes.
Patreon.com/Antebrewum. That's Patreon. We have 2 Patreon subscribers. We'd love to get some more. You can donate literally as little as $1 a month or less, or you can make a one-time donation to help us get microphones.
Yep, that would be nice.
Any of you that are listening are like, we wish there was a little better audio. Well, we're recording in a large, boomy room with one digital recorder in front of us.
That we have to lean into.
If we could get mics in front of our face, it would be much, much better. So patreon.com/Antebrewum. And I would like to thank our past subscribers, or our past sponsors, Liam's in Thomasville, Sweetgrass Dairy, wonderful places. Craft on Draft has tossed us some free growlers in the past. Check out all those places. And don't forget to check us out. You can subscribe now on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or Podcast Garden, which is our new host. We don't use SoundCloud anymore. I don't think anyone really listened on SoundCloud anyway. But iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play are the 3 big ones because we know everybody listens on their phone.
Yeah, and like
days.
us, share us, review us, and hey, send us an email if you want us to talk about something, have an idea. We are. This is your podcast as much as ours. I mean, we really want to help people in South Georgia who are like us, who love to drink and talk about craft beer.
We're most active on Facebook for sure.
Yeah.
So please send us a message. People have messaged us in the past with suggestions and comments. Please do. We love that.
Yep.
Like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the big 3 that we use the most, but Facebook is by far the most active. And subscribe, rate, review on iTunes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. And as always, Fiesta responsibly. Be cool. Definitely don't drink and drive. I know that's something that we do take seriously. Like tonight, I got somebody coming to pick me up, a sober person. So make good decisions. Know your limits. Don't be a jerk about it. And be careful, but have fun, but be responsible. So Fiesta responsibly. And finally, thank you all for listening and hanging in with us. And, we always have a good time. Danny and I love this. We'd be doing it anyways, but we really love the fact that we can try to start to make a community out of it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for listening. Goodbye to all of you listening out there in podcast land. And hello to Sour Carl, who's about to come share some delicious beers with us.
Hello, Sour Carl. Goodbye, podcast land. Goodbye, video land.
Thanks, Periscope subscribers. Thanks, YouTubers. Oh, Carl said he was watching us text. I wonder if he's watching on Periscope. I was
okay.
Thinking he was peeking through one of my
There is
windows.
one more. All right. We'll see y'all later.
As I always say, peace out. Bye-bye. Oh, I should have got his coaster.
Drink this salty beer. Green coaster.
It's not salty. We've been through this.
It says C2C lager.
It's in your head. Maybe that'll be the outtake. It's not salty.